I was able to stack up 38,448 points for Damage Hornets on the Locked Gate event on Blue Gate. This strategy is ultra simple, there's not a lot of thinking involved in it, and you can farm up a ton of points by staying in a single place. This map in this specific event is great for this trials because it gives you 40 total minutes in order to farm in. There's also a number of locations on the map where you can see a lot of the spawns from those points, making it very possible to pull enemies from every part of the map to where you currently are. For your setup, it's not terribly involved. I recommend an Osprey and a Hullcracker. I brought an anvil just as backup in case one of them broke, but you really don't need that, it's just there for safety. For the Osprey, I actually do recommend leveling it up a couple of times. This will just increase the durability that you have, allowing it to last a bit longer through the match. Your Hullcracker is what's going to do the heavy lifting. It will take out wasps in a single shot and hornets usually in two, but you can one-shot hornets if you aim it correctly. You don't need a ton of medium ammo for this because the hornets are going to bring you a bunch as you eliminate them, but I do recommend bringing up to 8 stacks of Hullcracker ammo as you're going to burn through a lot of it. I ended the 40-minute match with no Hullcracker rounds remaining, so feel free to overpack if you feel like you might need to. Once you spawn in, you want to head towards the Overlook Airshaft. Preferably this airshaft, this extraction won't be available to use for the game. But if it is, don't worry, it's okay, it's not the end of the world. As you're heading to the Overlook Airshaft, pay attention for 2 things. Hornets that are simply roaming on the map already, and snitches in the air that you can pull and aggro to you. These are the early game points that you can stack up as you're en route to the location where you're going to position yourself for the game. Plus, if you're able to get all of these early spawns before other people do, it lets you get in control of the rotation and allows you to keep that control for the rest of the match. The process here is really simple. You use your Osprey to deal damage and or just shoot near enemies to aggro them to you. You don't have to hit enemies, and in some cases when you do hit an enemy with the sniper and you take out a thruster or one of the wings on the snitches, it causes that enemy to take a significantly longer time to fly over to you. So in some cases it's not even valuable to hit them directly, just shoot near them and they will aggro to you that way and get to you much faster. You don't want to overspend on your Osprey shots, but if you've upgraded it a couple of times, you can definitely take a few pop shots just to get some damage on them before they show up. But Osprey's burn is decently high, not quite as high as a Renegade's, but it's up there. So make sure when you're using it that you're using it sparingly and only to pull enemies to you, allowing your Hullcracker to do the heavy lifting. Once the enemies show up and you have your Hullcracker out, I recommend waiting to use it until they settle and are about to attack. Wasps have a funny way of flying around just as you're starting to take a shot at them if they're not settled and aiming at you. I tend to wait until they laser me when they're about to start shooting their guns. At that point, they're steady and they're still, and they're a very easy shot with the Hullcracker, and this will help you preserve your ammo throughout the match. Hornets are a little bit more challenging because when they do settle in place, they fire their taser almost instantly, so you don't have a ton of time to wait for that. But if you choose to use the Hullcracker and just shoot them directly straight on, you're going to be hitting the heavier part of their armor, and it's going to take you a lot more Hullcracker shots to take them down. You can one-shot Hornets if you're able to hit the back thrusters with the Hullcracker, but that definitely can be challenging when they're in your face. So do your best to get those one shots, but if not, make sure it's a 2-shot. It can definitely take up to 4 shots. I've had Hornets tank 4 total Hullcracker shots, and that was because I kept shooting them directly straight on. They also have a weakness from the side. If you're able to get a shot off when they're looking to the left or to the right, you can hit that backside thruster and one-shot them that way as well. For this challenge, keep in mind that the Hornet points that you get are relative to the amount of damage that you do to the enemy itself. If you clip 2 thrusters on the Hornet and you allow it to fall to the ground and it hits the ground but doesn't explode, it will begin taking its own amount of self-damage and you begin losing points for that elimination. You can lose over 100 points or more if you allow it to sit on the ground and just spin in circles, not exploding. This is where the Hullcracker really comes in handy because it allows you to ensure that you're getting the maximum amount of points by blowing it up in the air. That's why I recommend Hullcracker for this challenge, to ensure you're getting max points for Hornets. Once you made it to the Overlook Airshaft, the rotation here is super simple. Think of the area as just a giant circle that you want to rotate around throughout the match. The 3 main points that you care the most about are the north, the east, and the south sides. The east side is towards Ridgeline, and this is where your primary Hornet spawns are going to be, and those Hornets will rotate over to the warehouse. This east side spawn is also closest to you, which allows you to pull the enemies super quick before anyone else on the map can. The enemies to the north and to the south are a little bit farther out, but you can use your Osprey to pull them to you. It just takes a few more shots to ensure they stay aggroed the whole distance on their way to you. Enemies that are further away tend to de-aggro if you don't continue shooting at them or hitting them with your weapon, so keep that in mind. It can kind of become a juggling act by looking in a couple of different directions and trying to make sure enemies continue to aggro to you. Light times vary, and it can be very easy to overwhelm yourself, so be careful with how many enemies you're aggroing to you. In general, I recommend 2 snitches at a time without map-based spawns. You definitely can do map-based spawns plus a couple of snitches, but you need to make sure you have good cover, good safety, and you're able to rotate between the enemies effectively. Beyond that, your goal here is really to just continuously pull enemies from any direction to you. You can pull enemies from the west, it's just they're very far away and it takes a considerable amount of time to get them pulled over to you. It should only be used when you have no other spawns that you can pull from the other 3 directions. Make sure you know where the extraction is, and as time winds down, know how long it takes to get to one. I've done a challenge on this map at this location a bunch of times, so I knew that I could stay pretty late and still make it down to the extraction without an issue. But you need to also remember that along the way you can run into enemies that will delay you, or you can get caught out by something like a Rocketeer and it will really slow you down. So don't stay too long, make sure you get to the extraction and you hit the button before it reaches 0. At the extraction, you can try and pick off your last few enemies, but keep in mind that if you've ran out of Hullcracker ammo like I did, you have to try and eliminate the Hornets in the air, which means just doing a bunch of body damage and blowing them up in the air. Don't get too greedy here. If you go down and have to crawl into the extraction, once those doors open, you only have 25 seconds to do it, and it's very easy to get yourself caught out and a little bit too far away to make the entire crawl. Once you've stacked up enough eliminations, head back to Speranza, collect your loot if you haven't already, and watch your score fly up the leaderboard. That's going to be it for me today, y'all. Thanks for watching.